Welcome to Biography with Plutarch, where we delve into the lives of extraordinary individuals who have shaped the course of human history. Today, we turn our attention to the remarkable Ida B.B. Wells, a woman whose unwavering dedication to justice and equality would leave an indelible mark on American society. Born into a world torn apart by slavery, racism, and inequality, Ida B.B. As we embark on this journey through the life of Ida B. Wells, let us begin at the beginning, in the sweltering summer of 1862, in the midst of the American Civil War. It was on July 16th of that year that Ida Bell Wells was born, in Holly Springs, Mississippi, a small town nestled in the heart of the Confederacy. Her parents, James and Elizabeth Wells, were enslaved Africans who had been freed by the Emancipation Proclamation, issued by President Abraham Lincoln just 6 months prior. The family resided on a small farm, where they worked tirelessly to build a new life amidst the tumultuous backdrop of war and social upheaval. Ida's early childhood was marked by the harsh realities of poverty and racism. Despite these challenges, her parents instilled in her a strong sense of self-worth and a love of learning. Elizabeth Wells, in particular, played a pivotal role in shaping Ida's young mind, teaching her to read and write, and encouraging her to pursue her education with unwavering dedication. The family's small farm was a hub of activity, with James Wells working as a carpenter and a farmer, while Elizabeth managed the household and cared for their 8 children. As Ida grew older, she began to attend Shaw University, a newly established school for African Americans in Holly Springs. It was here that she developed a passion for learning, excelling in her studies and demonstrating a particular aptitude for writing and public speaking. The university's emphasis on education and self-improvement resonated deeply with Ida, who saw it as a means of empowering herself and her community. The historical context of Ida's early years was marked by significant events that would shape her character and future path. The Reconstruction era, which followed the Civil War, brought about a period of tumultuous change, as African Americans fought to assert their rights and claim their place in American society. The Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist organization, terrorized communities seeking to maintain the status quo of racial oppression. It was against this backdrop that Ida B.B. Wells began to develop her skills as a writer and orator, using her voice to speak out against injustice and advocate for the rights of African Americans. Her experiences growing up in the tumultuous South, her love of learning, and her determination to speak out against injustice all foreshadow the remarkable achievements that are yet to come. We notice, too, the strong influence of her family and community, who instilled in her a sense of resilience and purpose. Ida's time at Shaw University was particularly significant, as it was here that she began to develop her skills as a writer and orator. She became involved in the school's literary society, where she honed her writing talents and delivered speeches on topics such as education and women's rights. These early experiences would later serve her well as she took on the role of journalist and activist. Wells's early life, we see a young woman emerging, shaped by the trials and tribulations of her childhood and adolescence. Her story is one of courage and perseverance, of a determination to succeed despite the obstacles that stood in her way. The foundations laid during these formative years would serve as the catalyst for her future achievements, as she rose to become one of the most prominent voices of her generation. Wells, a trailblazing journalist and activist who dedicated her life to fighting against racism and oppression in America. As Ida entered adulthood, she began to make a name for herself as a writer and educator. She taught school in Memphis, Tennessee, where she became involved in the local African American community and began to write for the Memphis Free Speech and Headlight newspaper. Her articles and editorials quickly gained attention for their insightful commentary on issues affecting African Americans, from education and employment to voting rights and social justice. Ida's writing was marked by its candor, wit, and unflinching critique of racism. She tackled topics that many of her contemporaries shied away from, including lynching, segregation, and the brutal suppression of African American rights. Her words were like a beacon, shining a light on the darkest corners of American society and inspiring others to join her in the fight for justice. In 1889, Ida became the editor of the Memphis Free Speech and Headlight, making her one of the first African American women to run a newspaper in the United States. Under her leadership, the paper flourished, becoming a powerful voice for the African American community in Memphis and beyond. Ida's editorial columns were widely read and respected, and she used her platform to challenge the racist attitudes and practices that pervaded every aspect of American life. One of the most significant events in Ida's life as a journalist occurred in 1892, when 3 African American men, Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Henry Stewart, were lynched in Memphis by a white mob. The brutal murder of these innocent men sparked outrage in the African American community, and Ida was at the forefront of the response. She wrote a series of scathing editorials, exposing the lies and half-truths that had been used to justify the lynchings, and calling for justice and accountability. Ida's courageous reporting and advocacy made her a target for racist violence and intimidation. She received death threats and was forced to flee Memphis for her own safety. However, she refused to be silenced, continuing to write and speak out against racism and oppression from exile in New York City. Throughout the 1890s, Ida traveled extensively, giving lectures and speeches on topics such as lynching, women's suffrage, and civil rights. She co-founded the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs and worked closely with other prominent African American leaders, including Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois. Her message of hope and resilience inspired countless people, both black and white, to join her in the fight for a more just and equitable society. Wells's rise to prominence as a journalist and activist, we see a woman of unwavering conviction and courage. Despite facing numerous challenges and dangers, she remained committed to her mission, using her words and actions to challenge the status quo and push for meaningful change. Her legacy continues to inspire us today, reminding us of the power of individual action and the importance of standing up against injustice, no matter the cost. Wells, a trailblazing journalist and activist who dedicated her life to fighting against racism and oppression in America. In 1895, Ida married Ferdinand Barnett, a prominent African-American lawyer and civil rights activist in Chicago. The couple had 4 children together, and Ida balanced her family responsibilities with her ongoing commitment to social justice. Despite the demands of motherhood, she remained a vocal advocate for African-American rights, continuing to write and speak out against lynching, segregation, and other forms of racial oppression. Ida's marriage to Ferdinand Barnett was a partnership in every sense of the word. Together, they co-founded the Chicago Conservator newspaper, which became a powerful voice for the African American community in Chicago. Ida's editorial columns continued to inspire and challenge her readers, tackling topics such as women's suffrage, education, and economic empowerment. Throughout the early 20th century, Ida remained a prominent figure in the civil rights movement. She worked closely with other notable leaders, including Mary Church Terrell and W.E.B. Du Bois, to push for meaningful change. In 1909, she co-founded the NAACP, which would become one of the most influential civil rights organizations in American history. Ida's later years were marked by both personal triumphs and challenges. She continued to write and speak out against racism, even as she faced increasing opposition and criticism from some within her own community. Despite these challenges, she remained steadfast in her commitment to justice and equality, inspiring generations of activists and leaders to follow in her footsteps. Her unwavering commitment to social justice, even in the face of overwhelming opposition, continues to inspire us today. In the words of Ida B. Wells, "I'd rather go down in history as one lone Negro who dared to tell the truth than as a silent, helpless onlooker." Her courage and conviction have left an indelible mark on American history, and her legacy will continue to inspire us for generations to come. Wells's work and the continued struggle for racial justice in America. That's all for today's biography with Plutarch. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that understanding the lives of remarkable individuals helps us better understand ourselves.